Buenos dias.
Hello and welcome to Corporal Charles, my new channel with a rude exterior. My name is Charles Swift and I love all things to do with militaries, railways and history. These have been my personal passions for years, learning the different nooks and crannies and technical details of tanks, lorries and trains. Looking into our planet's rich, wonderful and horrific military history, I hope to educate you, the new and hopefully long-time viewer, on these subjects. Thanks for listening to my little spiel, and on with the video. During the late 1910s, the famed and now legendary locomotive designer, Sir Herbert Nigel Gresley, was set to the task of designing a new freight locomotive by his employer, the Great Northern Railway. Gresley had already designed his successful K1 class with the Great Northern Railway, a 260 goods engine, one which was powerful and reliable for the time. However, before Gresley, there was another locomotive designer and chief mechanical engineer of the Great Northern Railway, Henry Ivett, who had designed an 080 locomotive for the GNR. And although they were powerful, rugged and reliable machines for the time, the large increase in coal traffic on the main line from Grantham to London saw that they were being worked to capacity. The Great Northern Railway reasoned that they should reduce the number of trains on the Grantham-London main line. This was done by increasing mineral train length. The longer the trains, the less individual services. Brilliant, except one snag. The aging Ivett 080 classes were being overworked, as we have previously discussed. They weren't powerful enough to pull the required length trains. To meet the needs of the Great Northern Railway, Gresley designed the 0-1-280 mineral engine. The first orders of 0-1s were placed in 1913 and were completed by 1914 at Doncaster Works. Due to the rising popularity of tango dancing at the time in Britain, the 0-1 class was nicknamed Tangos, which remains one of my favourite steam locomotive nicknames to this day. This was carrying on a trend seen in the previously mentioned K1, who were affectionately nicknamed Ragtimers, and would continue with the later Gresley K3s, which were nicknamed Jazzers. The 0-2 class would continue the legacy of being nicknamed Tangos. Anyway, back to the 0-2s. Of course, the 0-1s naturally led to the 0-2s. You couldn't have one without the other. The 0-1 was designed to haul extremely heavy coal traffic from Peterborough to Fern Park. The design load was 80 wagons, an extraneous number of wagons for the time, carrying 1,300 tonnes of coal, which was 20 more wagons than the Ivett Q classes could handle. The 0-2 was a 3-cylinder development of the 0-1. Significantly, this class is quite special as it was the first ever Gresley design to carry his patented conjugated valve gear, setting a trend for all his larger engines after it. Conjugated valve gear was used on such workhorses as the K3s, the V2s, the A1s, the A3s, as well as the famous A4s. Gresley's conjugated valve gear enables locomotives with 3 cylinders to operate with only 2 sets of valve gear, and derives the valve motion for the inside cylinder from them by means of levers. The advantages of the 0-2 having 3 cylinders is that they allow the same power from smaller cylinders, thus making them lighter, significantly reducing wear and tear. You've seen pictures of both locomotives, and you can probably see that they look extremely similar. And yes, they are similar. The 0-2's 3-cylinder design and conjugated valve gear, though, meant it was by far the more superior design of the two. During the British Railways era, to give people a bit of scope, the 0-2 was designated as an 8F. They were more reliable, more efficient and more powerful, thus making it the better of the two locomotives. The 0-2's tractive effort was 36,740 pounds, around 3,000 pounds more than the 0-1. The first ever 0-2 was built in May 1918. This used an alternate form of conjugated valve gear. This 0-2 was numbered 421. further batch of 10 O2s was ordered in 1919 and were built by the North British Locomotive Works in 1921. These were again different from the original design. They featured a redesigned cylinder and steam chest layout, allowing the use of simpler conjugated valve gear. This had been previously introduced on Gresleys' 1919 K3 260 class and became standard for the next 56 O2s to be built. The original O2, number 421, was never rebuilt with this motion. The first O2 built, number 461, was allocated to New England alongside the O1s to haul coal traffic to London. The 1921-24 locomotives were also allocated to New England.
When the signals were green, did you sit by the line, watch for the fire?
Soon, the early 1920s dawned. The North Eastern Railway, North British Railway, Midland and Great Northern Railway, Great Central Railway and Great Northern Railway, and several other smaller railway companies all partnered together during what was known as the Grouping Act. They became the LNER. Quickly, the LNER ordered and built 15 more O2s in 1923, proving their long-lasting reliability and popularity. In order to fit the LNER's standard loading gauge of 13.5 feet, the new batch of O2s had their cabs shortened. Fitted with their shorter cabs and now stumpier funnels, the new 1923 batch was designated as O2/2. The LNER seemed to like the O2, as a plan to build 50 O2s was suggested, but was stifled by the abundance of ex-Great Central Railway 04-280 locomotives, as they were, at the time, wartime surplus. All the Great Northern Railway O2s and the 1923 LNER O2s were built with split-ring piston valves. These piston valves suffered the same lubrication and wear problems as their counterparts on the O1 and were replaced with NOR-type piston valves from 1923. The O2s are fairly shy on information during this period, but I can assume they worked reliably and efficiently over the course of the next 20 years in LNER service. Another order for O2s was placed in 1929 for 8 locomotives. However, the oncoming Great Depression stopped the 1929 order. The order for 8 O2s was set back until 1932. Another order for 8 was placed in 1933. I should say till now, O2s mainly worked on the Great Eastern Network and on the East Coast Main Line between Grantham and London, occasionally being seen further abroad. No new O2s were built until 1942, when the Second World War splashed onto the world stage. With the LNER moving more freight than ever, the war-torn railway needed more freight haulers. This, in turn, led to hundreds of LMS 8Fs, Riddles, War Department 280s and 210s being bought, as well as rebuilding programs to make older locomotives more efficient. The LNER themselves built a whopping 25 O2s during the Second World War. All Second World War batch O2s were classified as O2/3, as they were group standard and had many modifications. The original O2s built for the Great Northern Railway were rebuilt to this specification, becoming O2/3s.
Oil is so pure and so strong, I'm afraid of my life, I'll go down in the soil. If my wife don't stop drinking your coffee.
With the breakout of peace and the successful Allied victory, O2 production ceased. But that wasn't it for these engines. With Gresleys' unfortunate death in 1941, a new mechanical engineer was needed for the struggling LNER. And the man chosen for the job, former Gresleys student and apprentice Edward Thompson, stepped in to fill Gresleys' shoes. Thompson is renowned and more often revered for his decisions. His agenda was standardization, interpreted by some as a hatred of all things Gresley. He designed and rebuilt many locomotives, some of which to the dismay of modern railway fans. The popular but flawed P2, the ex-Great Central Railway 04s, and a single A3. This standardization reached the O2s, and number 3479 was fitted with a Diagram 100A boiler in October 1943, the same boiler used on Thompson's numerous B1. In 1944, 4 more O2s were fitted with Diagram 108 boilers. This new type of O2 was designated as O2/4. All O2s survived internationalisation. The original O2 Great Northern Railway, numbered 421, now LNER numbered 3921, was quickly withdrawn in May 1948 due to its non-standard nature. From February 1949, Diagram 100A boilers were slowly fitted to the remaining engines as their boilers were aging and coming up for renewal. The parent engine of the O2, the O1s, were all pulled from service in 1952. I believe this was in part because the O1 was very non-standard and there were a lot, at that point, far better engines to do its job. As diesel power began to take hold, the O2s, like so many other LNER engines, disappeared after 1962. Their withdrawal began in 1960. Sadly, no examples of O2s survived into preservation. To surmise, the O2s were rugged, reliable and powerful class of freight engine. They hauled long, heavy mineral trains. They were all distributed around the Great Northern Railway network, and some, even in their later years, could be seen as far north as Bridlington and Tyneside. And once, in 1957, an O2 was seen on the Hawes Line on a pickup goods. Some members of the class enjoyed a 43-year-long service, while the World War II era batches only saw up to 20 years of service. Hey guys, I suppose if you know more than me about this class, feel 100% free to correct me. I'm open to new information and feedback. This is one of my favourite classes of steam engine, which I believe to be somewhat underrated. Anyway, please help me out by liking the video, and if possible and agreeable, subscribe. This channel is new, and there is so much I would like to talk about in the future, so help me out, subscribe, and thanks for watching.